Busch Gardens Williamsburg just reopened their classic aero looper, Loch Ness Monster. This opened in 1978, the first coaster to feature interlocking loops, and after its 45th anniversary, it was shut down to get some TLC. This is a coaster I thought might be removed in recent years, but it's clear that's not going to happen now. They brought in Premier Rides to replace 900 feet of track. That's a little more than a quarter of the entire layout, and it also got new theming elements, audio on the lift hill, a renovated queue line, station, and style on the train. This was a major facelift for an old favorite, and it got me to thinking, who else might do this in the future? These are 15 coasters around the world that might get the Loch Ness treatment. First, thanks to Jackson Bachman for this video idea. It started off as a buy or sell, but morphed into its own video. I don't know what Premier Rides is capable of, but for the sake of being realistic, I'm only going to stick to the coasters that sit on top of the track, nothing inverted. I'm also going to mainly focus on Aero, also throwing in Vekoma, and a couple others that might make sense. When you consider this treatment, you have to keep in mind a few things. For one, it's gotta be a chain that's willing to do it. Also, they have to see the coaster as worth the investment. Loch Ness Monster was the perfect scenario. A chain that has money to spend, and a coaster that's still popular. One they'd rather renovate than replace. To get a retrack, the coaster doesn't have to be rough. Loch Ness Monster wasn't that bad, but it helps if it is. It also helps if the chain has a good relationship with Premier Rides. United Parks definitely does, having put in a bunch of Skyrocket 2s, and Six Flags also does a lot of business with them. Cedar Fair, not as much, and they're about to merge with Six Flags anyway, so there you go. Number 15. Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Let's start with Vekoma, a company that's very much alive and kicking, so maybe they retrack their own coaster. As far as I know, these companies submit bids to get projects, so maybe Premier undercuts them and gets the job. I'm just saying, just because the company's still around doesn't mean they're gonna get the work. Look at Morgan working on Steel Phantom when Aero was still around, or Zamprola redoing Top Thrill Dragster instead of Intamin. Rock and Roller Coaster doesn't run rough the last time I rode it, but with endless cycles every day of every year, if this needs help, maybe Premier gets the contract. Number 14. Python at Efteling. This Vekoma looper opened in 1981, 2 loops and 2 corkscrews, one of the very early coasters with 4 inversions. Efteling has already expressed their commitment to the ride, retracking the whole thing in 2017, getting a company called CSM to get them new track, and they reopened basically a whole new coaster in 2018. They could have gotten a brand new ride, but chose to keep it, and it may take another 20 years for this track to fall apart. Or they start being proactive, retracking sections as they need it, and hiring Premier to do so. Number 13. Carolina Cyclone at Carowinds. Here's an Aero, the actual first coaster with 4 inversions, opening back in 1980. It has a prime spot in the park, and it may fall victim to Cedar Fair's axe when they deem it's time to expand. Still, under Cedar Fair, it's gotten 2 new paint jobs, and it got the old train from Vortex at Kings Island. It seems like they want to keep this around, but I'm not so sure about that. If they do, a Premier retrack may be in its future. Number 12. Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. There's so much talk about this ride finally being torn down. This being relocated from an expo in Canada in 1989. A weird Aero Vekoma hybrid that's never been very good. But this is Six Flags, and more important, this is St. Louis. They haven't closed a major ride here since 1988, and with their lack of interest in adding new rides, it seems like they want to keep what they have. I could see Premier come in and give it new track, fix those transitions, give it some theming elements, both on ride and in the queue and station, and just breathe new life into this coaster. If St. Louis wants to keep it, they should at least give it a new Vekoma train. Number 11. Tennessee Tornado at Dollywood. This was Aero's final looper, and you can tell, it looks totally different. The inversions are big, and it uses long tubular supports, not the steel lattice you find on all their other coasters. Dollywood has kept this running well since 1999, not very long, but tall and fast, and it seems like it's a cornerstone of the park. Still, I'm not sure how committed Dollywood is to this coaster. Is this something they'd be willing to scrap for a major new coaster? Say, a Mock Rides Extreme Spinner, I don't know, but if I had to bet, I say they keep it around. It's now 25 years old, so who knows when it might need some new track. Number 10. Demon at Six Flags Great America. I said this coaster may be gone by 2025, maybe 2026, coming up on its 50th season. That being said, every time something bad happens to Demon, the park is right there trying to fix it. The lift motor blows. The rocks fall on top of the track. No big deal. Keep it going. They keep updating and fixing the broken theming elements. And that just tells me they aren't planning on taking it down. Or maybe they actually have some pride in their park. If they are keeping it and don't want to hand the land over to RMC to build a single rail, maybe they give Premier Rides a call and extend its life even more. Number 9. Dragon Mountain at Marineland. We already know this park is changing hands, and this will not be operational in 2024. That's not good, but assuming the new owners have interest in reopening this next year, it could be a good thing. Dragon Mountain is one of the most unique coasters in the world. A terrain looper with 5,500 feet of track, a weird coaster in a weird park, and aside from the drop tower, the most important attraction in the park. It wasn't rough when I rode it last year, but assuming this is here to stay, the new owners may use Premier Rides to take care of any problems in the future. Number 8. Desperado at Buffalo Bills. Here's another coaster that's in limbo, standing idle since 2019. Apparently, it is going to reopen as part of a casino-wide overhaul, and the world will have one of the tallest and longest coasters back in action. Desperado turns 30 this year, and coming from someone who rode it when it was only 7 years old, it's been beating people up for a long time. If casino management gets the whole resort a facelift, but their star coaster is still cracking people's ribs, they might want to invest some money in new track. Number 7. Big Apple Coaster at New York, and Vegas. Let's go east on I-15 and go to the Strip, and here we have the one and only Togo coaster on the list. This is still very popular, but it doesn't really deserve it. It's expensive and the layout is bad, but it's big, it's iconic, and people still want to ride it. A couple years ago, they got Premier Rides to replace the trains, and that was a big upgrade, so that relationship is already there. This ride is notorious for bad transitions, and Premier does not only retracking, it can reprofile also. That's what the coaster desperately needs. I don't think this is going anywhere anytime soon, so it seems inevitable at some point Premier will come in and do some work. Number 6. Canyon Blaster at Adventure Dome. Once again, we're staying in Vegas. The truth is, most of these coasters were built in the 90s. They're all around 30 years old, and that's an age where parks have to decide, fix it or scrap it. Canyon Blaster was built specifically for this dome. It still runs very well, but that doesn't mean it's not going to wear out its track. It's open every day of every year, and since they'll never get rid of it, I could see Premier give it some new track, maybe add some theming in the tunnel, or in the station, whatever the Adventure Dome wants to pay for. Number 5. Big One at Pleasure Beach Resort. This Aero Hyper opened in 1994, and it's not a matter of if the track needs help, it's a matter of when. Over the last 4 off-seasons, it's gotten new track from a company called Gter. Maybe Gter is their vendor of choice. They are based in the UK, but like I said before, these jobs are usually up for bid, and next time around it could be anyone. It's a 30-year-old Aero that's 213 feet tall, hits 74 miles an hour, and has almost 5,500 feet of track. There's no shortage of track to be replaced. Number 4. Gter at Park Asterix. This Vekoma Looper is notorious for being one of the worst coasters in the world, but here we are 35 years later and it's still open. They've done so much to it over the years, trying anything to make it better, and 11 years ago it even got retracked, but people still say it's bad. I don't know, I've never been to France, but aside from Uncle Nate, pretty much everyone else has a negative opinion. It's a very old school Vekoma, so I don't even know if new Vekoma wants any part of it. And since Vekoma used Aero's track design back in the old days, Premier may be the best option to try and fix the worst parts of the ride. You know, assuming the whole ride isn't the worst part. Number 3. Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. The first full-circuit coaster to stand over 200 feet. Magnum is a legend, an ace coaster landmark, and for my money, one of the best coasters in the world. A lot of people disagree, and they would say this is one of the worst coasters in the world. It all depends on how much roughness you want to put up with. There have been rumors of this eventually being taken out, replaced with a more modern hyper, but I don't think so. I think before they do anything like that, they'll give Premier Rides a call and they'll fix anything that needs it. That includes new track, that includes reprofile track, that includes new trains, though I really hope not. Premier Rides trains are horrible, and it could even mean more theming in the tunnels. Number 2. Blue Hawk at Six Flags Over Georgia. When this was relocated to the park in 1992, it was called Ninja and it was horrible. Despite Rusty Griswold taking his family across the country to ride it, it was considered one of the worst coasters in the country. In 2016, it got new trains, a repaint, a new theme, and fixed some of the track to make it smoother. The new Blue Hawk didn't really focus on the track itself. The new trains are great, but you can feel the track jerking you around. This may be a good candidate for both new and reprofiled track. And it is Six Flags who does a lot of work with Premier. Number 1. Viper at Six Flags Darien Lake. Viper checks all the boxes. This aero looper gets a lot of love. It opened in 1982 as the first coaster to have 5 inversions. Then, it's Six Flags. They work with Premier, as I just mentioned. Then, it's Darien Lake. They have zero desire to rip this out and replace it with a new coaster. They're gonna do everything they can to put band-aids on any problem, just like they've done with Predator. That got GCI Titan Track instead of being torn down or RMC. I rode Viper in 2023 and it was kinda rough. Definitely could use some help. And this is the type of coaster that I could see get closed down and have a big renovation announcement just like Loch Ness Monster. To me, this is the number 1 most likely candidate for this project. But what do you think? Do you disagree with anything on this list? Or do you have another candidate that I didn't mention here? I thought about putting Viper at Magic Mountain on here, and that's possible, but I think that's much more likely to get a new Vekoma train. Remember, I stuck to coasters that right on top of the track, mostly Aero and Vekoma, also threw in a Togo, but there could be another random coaster out there that I didn't mention. So if you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and give me a sub if you're new here and want to see more content like this. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.